let's say you're a regular person. I mean, you probably are one anyway, but let's say you're one that has never heard of Toki Pona before. Maybe you read 1984 in high school or something, so you have some knowledge as to what we're talking about here. So, one of your friends comes up to you and starts talking about this language. It has a small vocabulary, small grammar, and it has a preference for simplicity and wants you to simplify your thoughts. Hey, that sounds a lot like that weird form of English in 1984. Newspeak. Is this just Newspeak? Is it finally coming? Are people trying to really simplify us? Are they trying to subjugate us like this? That's something that can happen to a lot of people when they first hear Toki Pona. It happens a lot. I've seen it a lot. It happens decently often. Not all the time, obviously, but every once in a while, someone's going to bring that up. What does this mean? What does this imply? And what can we do with it? And what can we discuss about this? So, obviously, as someone who makes videos on Toki Pona, I clearly disagree with the idea that it's Newspeak. This is for very simple reasons. First off, it's not made by a political party, and it's not meant to be used to control people in a country. Like, it's just a language for fun. No one's forcing you to learn it, and it's not the only expected way to speak. There are dozens of reasons, but those are just some of the big ones. So most of this video will not actually really focus on whether it's Newspeak or not, because it's pretty obviously not. But I do want to explore why people would think this and what we can do about it, if there is anything we can do about it. So what I think this kind of comes from is that, well, as human beings, a lot of us make a lot of irrational and immediate judgments without giving more thought to it. Simple language, simple words, simple grammar, focus on simplifying your thoughts, small vocabulary, must be Newspeak. And I mean, that's a thought process, but I wouldn't say it's the most rational one once you give it some thought and actually did a little bit of research on it. And on top of that, I just feel like in general, people kind of hate simplicity for some reason. Now, from what I remember, there are some cognitive biases that play into that, where we do think that more complex things are better, or they're, I guess, more grounded, or that they're better in some way. I mean, and in plenty of ways they can be, especially when used effectively, but not always. Simplicity is also very good. You can have a very complex melody in music, which I like it, but not everyone's going to like it, and you can have very simplistic melody, which plenty of people will like in music. It's going to sound good. That doesn't mean that you can't have complexity. I love composing complex music because I think it sounds nice to me. It just so happens to be complex to most people, I suppose. But simplicity is also good. There's nothing wrong with doing something simple. And on top of that, some people are just trying to seem really smart and intellectually superior. And I don't really think that's getting across when you claim that Toki Pona is like Newspeak. If anything, that kind of portrays the opposite, because it just shows that you haven't really done research on this, and that you also don't get the point of Newspeak in 1984 either. So, no, you don't appear smarter than everyone else. So what we can kind of do about this is to generally try and educate people. Like I said, the reasons for why it's not Newspeak are pretty obvious. So just point those out, that Toki Pona does not have any political connotations, is not being used to control people in any way, shape, or form. It's just for fun, for people who want to learn it. No one's forcing you to learn it or anything. So instead of being false intellectuals and understanding things, why don't we try to be real intellectuals? Why don't we really try and learn things and do research well and not make hasty decisions and judgments? That's just generally good for your life. So, of course, what we should be doing is embracing Toki Pona's nature, which is to be simplistic, and I think that we should be applying that to our own lives. You don't need to have a million things going on. Sometimes you just need what's essential. As I've talked about in a couple of videos, the 80-20 rule, the whole productivity thing, I know some people don't really like it, but also mention it. Toki Pona kind of embraces that as well. Toki Pona, and I'm not going to say it as like exactly 20% of the vocabulary is normal language, because That's not true. It is way less than that. But Toki Pona takes the few amount of words that it needs to communicate and the least amount of grammar that it needs to communicate, and it works with that. And it still gets across the ideas for everything that we need to use to communicate. It still is perfectly usable as a language. We can still use it to communicate tons of ideas. It can describe everything that we want it to. It just takes more skill, a lot more thinking. But instead of doing a billion things at once, well, for example, how have I applied that to this video? Instead of having a fully written out script and having like perfect editing, instead of that, I focus on what's important, which is me speaking. So what I did is I just essentially took bullet points for an outline for the video, and I'm just speaking without a real script. And for the editing department, I'm probably not going to have too many edits in this. I might have a couple of pictures flying around, might have the character doing some different hand positions and stuff, but nothing too different. It's going to kind of look the same, because what's most important is for me to be speaking and getting the point across and getting my ideas across, rather than it looking nice with all the flashy editing. Also, we're overstimulated, so it's good. So we should also become well-educated people as well, so that we can have these kinds of discussions seriously. It's not good to just write them off like that. We should at least discuss with them and, have a decent discussion about how Toki Pona is not Newspeak, instead of just writing them off and saying, oh, you're stupid or something like that. Don't be mean, guys. Come on. Don't be rude. Don't be mean. Don't be like the bad guy, because then they're just going to be like, oh, Toki Ponas are terrible. Something like that. I don't know if this video was as helpful. I really don't know. I kind of felt like making it, so I just decided to. Maybe you don't find it to be too helpful, but we'll see how that is. Again, if you're really interested in learning more about Toki Pona or need some help, I will be offering coaching for one client for Toki Pona, and then one for polyglottism and one for Plymothy, so that way you can make progress in all three of these journeys. Yes, it will be paid, so if you're willing to make that investment, go ahead. It won't be too much. It's not going to be like $1,000 or something like that. It won't be anything like that, don't worry. So if you're interested in that, you can go check it out. There should be a link in the description. You can book a time, and don't worry, I'll let the times be subject to change. If something pops up, like, I don't know what's going to happen in your life. I don't know what's going to happen in my life. Something happens, that's fine. I'm not going to like charge you extra or something, so you're fine. You're paying for the session, not the specific slot. So, if you want to check that out, that'd be great. So other than that, I don't really have much else to say. Tell your dogs to hi.